Okay, welcome. Today is Thursday, February 4th, and we are here together using our Thursday night to get ready for Shabbos. So we do that by studying a little Ramban on the Torah. And today we have some very, very interesting Rambans. A lot to choose from this week. This is Parshat Yitro, and Parshat Yitro is, of course, the Aseret HaDibrot, the Ten Commandments. So lots of juicy stuff to talk about. So we're going to start by looking at a pasuk. Let me actually share a different screen first, so we could look at the right pasuk together. We are looking here at Shemot Perek Yud Tet, pasuk Tet. It says as follows: Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, right here, verse 9. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Hine anochi ba ilecha be'av ha'anan. I am going to come to you in a thick cloud. Ba'avor yishma ha'am b'dabri imach, so that the people can hear when I speak to you. V'gam b'cha ya'aminu le'olam, and also so that they should trust you or believe in you forever. So what the Ramban is trying to do here is understand what is God's goal here of coming to Moshe, because it seems like there are two things going on. First is, I'm going to come to you in this cloud so that the people will hear me speaking to you. And then it says, Vigam, and also that they will believe in you. So the word Vigam gets the Ramban thinking that there must be more than one thing going on here. And so the Ramban gets into it, and he says as follows. Now let me go back to the other text. Okay. Ba'avor yishma ha'am b'dabri imach, so that they will hear me speaking to you when I speak to you. Amar Rabbi Avraham. So first he quotes the Ibn Ezra, and the Ibn Ezra gives what I think is a really interesting explanation. But as the Ramban often does, he will start with someone else's explanation and say, "I don't like it, and here is why," and I'll tell you my own. But the Ibn Ezra is interesting on its own. So I have it here in Hebrew, and I'll read it and I'll translate it as we go. Amar Rabbi Avraham, ki hayu b'Yisrael anashim shayta hanivua lahem bisafek. This is a fascinating statement. Says the Ibn Ezra that there were some Jews who did not believe in the concept of prophecy at that point. Right? They just didn't believe in prophecy. Va'af al pi shekatav vayaminu ba'Hashem Moshe avdo. The Ibn Ezra says, but you may be wondering, last Shabbos we read the Az Yashir, and in the Az Yashir it says vayaminu ba'Hashem Moshe avdo, that the Jewish people believed in Moshe, in God, and Moshe his servant. However, he says it's true. Even though it says that, Shamamar Vayar Yisrael v'lo kol Yisrael. It's true, it says that the Jews believed in God, but it doesn't say that everybody, it doesn't say that all of the Jews believed in Moshe and in God. So some of them were skeptics. I know it's hard to believe that there were Jewish skeptics, but some of them were skeptics. They didn't believe in, maybe even in God or in prophecy. So that's what God is concerned about here. He wants to fix that problem. And this is reflected in what they said to Moshe at Har Sinai, that now I realize that Hashem could talk to someone and live, meaning now I realize. But before, I did not believe it. Because they did not. Right here, they didn't believe that to begin with. And so the Ramban continues quoting Ibn Ezra, Aseret hadivarim. And that is the meaning of our pasuk, so that the people will hear as I speak to you the Ten Commandments, and they will also believe in you that you are a prophet. And henceforth, the concept of prophecy is going to be sustained. So here the Ramban answers the questions that I posed earlier. It was necessary for people to hear God speaking to Moshe, because some of them did not believe in prophecy at all. And then on top of that, he wanted them to believe that Moshe was a prophet, and that's the second outcome. So like we said, God was going to speak to Moshe, which was going to convince the Jews that there's such a thing as prophecy, and they will also believe that Moshe is the chief prophet. That's Ibn Ezra. It's a very elegant way to understand and explain the Psukim. And that's very, very nice. The Ramban says, I don't believe it. He cannot believe, the Ramban, that there were Jews who did not believe in prophecy. He says, V'hanachon be'enai she'amar, ani ba'elecha ba'av hanan, second paragraph. He says, but this is not sound. Okay, this is not sound. What is sound? What do I believe? I'm sorry, right here. Ve'enenu nachon, ki zera Abraham lo yistapku b'nevuah. Says the Ramban, no chance. There's no chance that Bnei Israel did not believe in nevuah. There's no chance that they had any type of doubt regarding nevuah. Ki ha'aminu ba me'avotam. This is a very good proof, I think. Right? They had a history already, a family history of prophecy. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah. Right? They had a family history of prophets, and the Ramban is suggesting that this history was handed down. Right? It was an oral history of the Jewish people, and it was handed down from generation to generation. And part of that story was that we have people who God talks to. They're called Nevi'im, they're called prophets. And here are their names. So the Ramban says it's inconceivable to me that there were Jews who didn't believe in prophecy. V'kvar amar od v'yamein ha'am v'yishmu. Earlier in Shemot, it already said that they believed in God. V'yamein ha'am v'yaminu Moshe avdo. So we already had that earlier, that they believed in God. V'im lo amar sham kol ha'olam, and it's true that Ibn Ezra says what he says. That doesn't say everyone believed. Afkan lo nemar bavor yishma kol ha'am. But that's why it doesn't say the word kol ha'am here either. That the whole nation is now going to believe. I mean, the Ibn Ezra rejects this idea that that missing word kol ha'am is so important that it indicates that we're Jews who didn't believe. Because in the pasuk that we're talking about, it doesn't say kol ha'am either. So what is he suggesting? Now we get to his suggestion. Ve'hanachon be'enai she'amar. The soundest interpretation, in my opinion, is that God was saying, Ani ba'elecha ba'avana. I am going to come to you in the cloud. Ba'avur yishma ha'am divarai v'yu heim atzmam nevi'im b'dabri. This is amazing. The Ramban says, I am going to speak to you in the clouds, that the people will hear my words, and they will themselves be prophets when I speak. They're going to hear me talking to you, Moshe. And by hearing me talking, that's the definition of prophecy, says the Ramban. And by hearing me talking, all of Bnei Yisrael at that moment are becoming prophets. God wanted all of Bnei Yisrael to have a direct conversation or direct interaction, revelation from God. God turns all of Bnei Yisrael into prophets. Tigash ata el harafel, v'avor yishma ha'am divari, v'yu heim atzmam nevi'im b'divari. They themselves are going to be prophets from my word, b'dabri, when I speak to them. Lo sheya'aminu pi achirim, not that they shall believe because of what they have heard from others. Meaning, even though the Ramban says that up till now, Bnei Yisrael believed in prophecy because they got it from a family history, the Ramban says that's not good enough. I want them to know firsthand what prophecy is. So I'm going to make them all prophets right here at the foot of the mountain. Kimo she'amar be'emor Hashem Elai hak'el li ata'am va'ashmi'em et divarai asher yilmedun liyira oti kol hayamim. A pasuk in Devarim. God said, gather the people to me, and I shall let them hear my words so that they shall learn to fear me all the days. That is the Devarim sort of commenting on what this was about. This was about God wanting Bnei Yisrael to hear the prophecy themselves so that they would have this unshakable belief and fear of God. That's why God comes to speak to Bnei Yisrael. That's part one. That's why God comes to speak to Moshe in a way that all of Bnei Yisrael are going to hear so that he can make them prophets. And then the second part, Vigam, remember that's the magic word. That's what got the Ramban all interested in this to begin with, Vigam. And also there's another goal that I have here. And the goal is, I lost my place, excuse me. Vigam, Bicha Ya'aminu. They will also believe in you, Lanetzach, eternally. B'chol hadarot, from every generation, generation to generation. V'im yakum b'kirbam navi o cholem chalom kenegdecha, keneged devarecha. And if a prophet is going to arise against you, yichachashuhu miyad, they'll be able to immediately refute him. Why? Because shekvar ra'u be'einehem v'sham'u ba'aznehem shehigata lemala elyonah b'nevuah. Because they already saw with their eyes and heard with their ears that you have attained the pinnacle of prophecy. Yitbarer lahem mimcha, masha katuv im yihye neviachem Hashem b'mar'eh elav et vada b'chalom adaber bo lo chen avdi Moshe b'chol beiti ne'emanhu peh el peh adaber bo. It will come clear to them that God, I speak to you face to face, mouth to mouth. Everyone else, it's sort of an indirect way, but you with Moshe, it's peh el peh. It's face to face, mouth to mouth, and they are going to believe in you forever, and they'll be able to always defend you as their prophet. So the Ramban also answers both questions. The first part of the pasuk is, I want to turn them into prophets. So I'm going to speak to you and allow them to hear, and by allowing them to hear, they are going to experience prophecy themselves, which is going to create strong faith in them. And the second thing I'm going to accomplish is I'm going to build your bona fides so that if anyone ever tries to knock you down, Bnei Yisrael is going to be able to say, no, I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. I heard it with my own ears. Moshe is special. So that's the first Ramban. I think it's really neat what the Ramban suggests, that Bnei Yisrael were turned into prophets. Again, it's not the only one who suggests this. We have a famous midrash that says what the lowest maidservant saw and experienced at Kriyat Yamsuf, at the splitting of the sea, was unlike what the greatest prophets experienced. So that could be also alluding to this idea that at a certain moment in time, all of Bnei Yisrael were turned into prophets. And we know, of course, that according to some commentaries, the first two dibrot, the first two commandments, were heard directly from God, and according to others, all 10 were heard directly from God. So the notion of Bnei Yisrael all being prophets is not sort of invented by the Ramban, yet he uses this pasuk to teach us that idea. Okay, so I want to stop here for a second and see if there are any comments or questions, what people think. Whose commentary do you like better, the Ibn Ezra or the Ramban? Any thoughts or anything anyone wants to share? Please feel free to unmute yourself or put something in the chat before we move on to the next one. We have Andrea. Is there a difference between being turned into prophets versus experiencing prophecy? No, I think what's going on here is for a moment in history, all Bnei Yisrael were prophets, and God could give and take away the power of prophecy as He sees fit. It's up to Him. It's good to be the king, so He gets to give and take prophecy as He sees fit. Okay, any other questions or comments on this? I actually think I may like I like the Ibn Ezra a lot. Uh, because even though Bnei Israel saw amazing things at the crossing of the sea, people are often a "what have you done for me lately" type of phenomenon, and they forget. And we see it through Bnei Israel all the time. They're getting mun, they don't like that, they're constantly complaining, after all the things that were done on their behalf. So it's possible that they lost their faith. And the Ramban and the Ibn Ezra is sort of admitting that sometimes people lose their faith, but they can get it back, right? The Ibn Ezra is telling us you can get it back, and that's what God wanted to do here. He wanted to help Bnei Israel get their faith back. Faith is not a zero-sum game. Sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't have it. Sometimes we have it a little bit, and the Ramban is opening up the Ibn Ezra is opening up that possibility to us. The Ramban is also beautiful because it reminds us that the least of us can achieve great things. Right? Everyone can become a prophet, even if it's just for a moment. Right? Even if it's just for a moment, someone could become a prophet. So we may not have technical classical prophecy now, but everyone for a moment could have sort of a moment of inspiration or something that really moves them to do something great. And that is perhaps what God wanted to furnish Bnei Yisrael with at that moment. Okay, so I like both of them. All right, here we go. The next Ramban, really, I spent a lot of the day thinking about this, and a lot of the day emailing colleagues to see if they. Yeah, go ahead, Manny.
Where are you in the Rambam? What number? I've got one in front of me. I want to follow with you.
We are in Ramban, not Maimonides, not Maimonides. Just make sure you have the right. I thought you may have said Rambam. We're in Ramban, and we are in Exodus, Shemot, chapter 20, and now we're going to be looking at his comments on verse 12.
2012.
In some versions, these comments are attached to verse 12, and in some versions, these comments are attached to verse 13. And it's just a very small snippet. And he's trying to understand something really interesting. We have the Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 Commandments in this week's Parsha. And he notes that in commandment number 2, in commandment number 2, 3, and 5, there are specific either rewards or punishments attached to them. And in 1 and 4, he says the rewards and punishments for those commandments are alluded to elsewhere in the section of verses. But he notes, when it comes to the last 5 commandments, there are no rewards or punishments mentioned at all. The mitzvot are simply listed without any punishment or reward at all. I will read them. I will read the last 5 for you. And they are as follows. Lo tirtzach, you shall not kill. Lo tin'af, do not commit adultery. Lo tignov, do not steal. Lo ta'aneh biracha et shaker, do not bear false witness. Lo tachmod beit re'echa, do not covet your fellow's house. The 5 last ones. So let me ask you, I'll open this up to the floor. Why do you think in the first 5, God mentions either directly or, according to the Ramban, adjacent reward or punishment, and the last 5, he just lists them off like boom, 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 like quick bullet points. Anyone want to make a suggestion? I'm going to hide the Ramban's answer. Anyone want to venture a guess?
So this isn't systematic thinking, but could it be something like that the sort of pain of some of those is so immediate that you don't really need an external punishment or reward for whatever?
Ah, okay. Excellent. Everyone know this is Leah Wolfthal. She works for the Center for Urban Transformation and the various programs that we've had on race and Judaism and the food drive. I have worked in concert with her and she's been incredibly helpful and an amazing community resource, and now friend of UOS. Okay, that's a great answer, right? With all these things, the harm done to the offended party is so obvious that maybe we don't need, right? Maybe we don't need to be scared, I guess, or inspired, right? Not to do them, because we'll see right in front of us how painful it is. Excellent. I think that's very similar, very close to what the Ramban said. Okay, Emily notes, could it have to do with the latter five, have to do with sins involving people versus God? Yes. The Ramban, by the way, is maybe not the only one, but he certainly popularized that notion that the first five commandments have to do with our relationship to God, even though number 5 is honor your father and your mother. And the last 5 have to do with our relationship to other people. Yes, the answer has everything to do with that. Okay, any other suggestions? Okay, if there are no more, we will read the Ramban. I saw this Ramban, I was just blown away. Okay, here we go. Maybe I shouldn't have played it up so much. Okay. He says, behold, it mentions the requital in some of the 10 statements, and in some of them it did not mention it. In number 2, it says, I'm a jealous God. In number 3, it says, the Lord will not clear away your sin. And in number 5, it says that you shall live a long life. And he goes on to explain later again that that number 1 and number 4 also get into the act in a little less direct way. However, below hiskir ba'achirim onesh oschar. When it comes to the other ones, the 5 leftovers, there's no reward or punishment. Why not? V'haya zeh ki hachamisha divarim ha'achronim tovat ha'adam heim, just like Leah and Emily said. The last 5 are for the benefit of humanity. V'hinei scharo ito u'pe'ulato lefanav. And behold, its reward is with him and its effect is in front of him. So that's a little bit vague, but I think what the Ramban is saying is the reward for upholding the mitzvot ben adam lechavero, the mitzvot between us and other people, the reward is the society that's built because we're upholding those things. And the punishment for not doing those things is the terrible society that will result from that. Right? We don't need, there's nothing God can do that's going to be more effective than letting us either enjoy the beautiful society that we built by treating each other properly, or by letting us wallow and suffer in the society that we created because we're stealing and because we're killing and because we're not taking care of people. So God says, I'm not going to write anything. You're gonna figure it out on your own, one way or the other. Either decide's going to be great and you'll just keep doing it, or it's going to be terrible and you're going to realize, wow, we need to change it. I read that this afternoon, and this morning when I was preparing, I was like, this is just really amazing, right? It puts so much, first of all, power in our ability, right, to craft the society that we want, right, and so much also trust that God has in us that we're actually going to do it. And he's not going to force us to do it. He'll bring no punishment for these things. Now, this is a little, if we think about the flood story, right? The flood story is the opposite. The flood story, the world was all full of people not treating each other well, and then God destroyed the world. But then God comes back and says, well, I'm going to do it differently this time. And I'm going to, you guys are going to be, it's up to you, right? It's up to you. I found a few more sources that address this, which I'm writing up for my Devar Torah for Shabbos. So I'll give you a sneak preview. There's a a comment of the Ibn Ezra in Devarim, that in Deuteronomy chapter 25. It says, Even shlema v'tzedek yihiyeh lecha. You shall have perfect and just weights. Meaning when someone comes to buy a pound of flour, your weight should be adjusted that they're really getting a pound of flour. Liman ya'arichu yamecha. Now this literally means so that your years may be lengthened, so your days may be long on the land that God is going to give you. So the Ramban, I think the Ibn Ezra in giving his explanation is wondering, what does having just weights and measures have to do with living a long life? And why specifically just weights and measures in a long life? What about not speaking gossip and living a long life? What about, I don't know, praying and living a long life? So the Ibn Ezra says, it doesn't mean living a long life. Here's what the Ibn Ezra says. Leman yarichu yamecha, ki ze yadua, ki kol malchut tzedek ta'amod. Any just government or just society will last. Ki hatzedek kibinyan. Righteousness and justice is like a building. V'ha'ivut kaharisut. Injustice is like destruction. Berega katan yipol hakir. In one moment, the wall can crumble. The wall can fall down. So what the Ibn Ezra is saying here is that this doesn't mean you're going to live long. It means your society will endure. If you have just weights and measures, it doesn't mean you're going to live till 120. But the society that you build because you are just is going to live on long after you're dead. But if we don't have just weights and measures and we steal and we take advantage of people who don't know any better, well, then that's just taking a little of the buttress out of the wall, and the wall is going to collapse. It's a beautiful idea. Hatzedek kibinyan, right? You should write this down. Righteousness is like a strong building. It's like a building. And crookedness is destruction. So I think there's a similar idea as the Ramban is saying. Right? The Ramban says, if you build a society, if you take care of the last 5 commandments, then there'll be a society that's wonderful. That's the reward in and of itself. It'll last. But if we don't take care of the last 5 commandments, then society is going to be destroyed, which is exactly what the Ibn Ezra says. Kaharisut. It's destruction. And there are a couple of other similar ideas which one can find in the writings. The Rambam has something like that. There's a midrash that may allude to something like that. It's a really powerful idea that the society that we built is directly related to how we treat people. It's directly related to how we treat people, whether it's individuals treating individuals, whether it's governments treating governments, whether it's institutions treating other institutions. The society we build is completely in our hands, dependent on how we treat people. And the last thing I'll say is, as much as it's important, critically important, that government get involved when people are struggling, at the end of the day, it's never enough. At the end of the day, governments can never do enough. Even the most willing governments, right, can't do enough to take care of everyone and to make sure that there's no crookedness. We all have a responsibility, even no matter the size of the welfare state that one lives in, right? We all have a responsibility, and we can't say, well, let the government take care of it. Let the institution take care of it, right? It's really based on us. We have to build institutions that are along these lines and just, but it's our responsibility. So those are the 2 Rambans in the note I sent out to the update about this. I called this one of the most stunning explanations for the mitzvot. I stand by it. I really believe it is a stunning explanation for why we're supposed to treat each other nicely. It's not only about being nice, it's about each nice act is a building block in our society, and each unjust or evil act takes a block out. And that's on us. All right, thank you for joining me. I'm sorry I went 2 minutes over. Anyone have any last comments or thoughts or any other ideas that they know of that dovetail or don't? Or anyone have a different opinion or something they want to add? All right, well, if there is nothing, I thank you all for joining, and I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom, and I hope to see you all live and in person soon. But until then, be well, stay safe, and God bless you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, everybody. Shalom,
Shabbat
shalom.
Shalom to everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thank you all for coming.
Thank
Shabbat
you,
Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Hello, Sheila. How are you? You're muted. I can't hear you. You're muted. Andrea, how you doing? Oh, the cameramans are here too. And Chana, hello.
Hello.
Shalom. Shalom, Chana. מה נשמע?
בסדר, I wanted to say that העולם עומד על 3 יסודות, על התורה,
כן.
על העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים.
כן.
So גמילות חסדים is part of doing good. And
Yes.
We're not muted now. I think now we can talk.
so that's one of
בהחלט,
the
that's
pillars,
true.
right?
That's true. Absolutely.
Okay.
That's true.
Yeah.
Hey, Sheila and Lou, how you doing?
Yeah, we're good. My iPhone is playing tricks. I can't see you.
Can you
I can
hear
see
us?
you and I can see you and hear you. Yes, it's
Oh,
fantastic.
Oh, okay. Well, thank God
We're good.
Great. Great. Happy to hear it.